welcome back to another episode of the Algorithm Podcast. You like how I just did it right there?
Oh yeah,
Just
jumped right in.
jumped right in.
You have to. You have to.
Today's episode, we are talking about the Netflix special that just released about a month ago
Yeah, I don't remember the release date, but it was,
called The Program.
yes.
Yes, The Program. The program goes over. I didn't even know this was a fucking thing.
I didn't either.
Like, I've heard of like detention schools.
Yes.
Like correctional schools. We
Right.
had one. You probably don't even remember this. You remember Roseburg?
Mm-mm.
So Roseburg was like in between like Swayze and Swayze and Sweetser or something like that. It was just
Okay.
out in the country, and it was like a detention school,
Oof.
and it was where all the bad kids
Right.
went. Right, but it wasn't nothing like this.
Yeah.
The gist of this episode is we're going to be talking about Ivy Ridge Academy,
Mm-hmm. Ooh.
the correctional school,
Yeah.
almost like a prison.
Yeah. It's
We're talking about a place that literally abused teenagers.
yeah. And
What was the starting age that they went at? Was it like 14 or 15, 13?
yeah, I think the youngest they said that they saw was like 12 or 13.
Okay. Before we really dive into this episode, make sure you follow the socials.
Absolutely.
YouTube is the most important one.
Absolutely.
Subscribe to the YouTube. We dabble on Facebook. We just do that for like local stuff.
Mm-hmm.
YouTube and Spotify are the two huge ones.
Okay.
We'll get Instagram going soon. Okay, so let's so what was your initial thoughts when we first talked about this and then you decided to watch it that night? I remember you saying some stuff in the group chat like, what in the actual fuck is this
Yeah.
like going on?
So when I first started watching it, I was like, okay, weird. Like they're in this abandoned building. There's nobody in there. She's walking through this hallway that's just like piles and piles of files. So I was like, what is this about?
So to put this in context, these it starts off with like former students
Yes.
of Ivy Ridge
Mm-hmm.
walking through an abandoned Ivy Ridge, like something you'd seen in like
Yeah.
a zombie movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything is still in the building.
Free.
Papers are flooded everywhere.
Yeah.
PCs are still there.
The computer.
The computers are still there.
Yes,
It's like
the whole computer lab. I was like,
when it got shut down,
they
people
just left.
left. They just walked out. So
Shit's
that's putting it in
crazy.
context. So you can
Yeah. It was just, I was very confused in the beginning, but once she started to unpack like the level system and points and stuff like that, then it started to hit me. I was like, what the actual fuck is this?
Right.
And she continued to tell her story of like what happens, how you end up there, what happens when you're there. You can't talk to your family. You can't do anything.
And who we're talking about is Catherine.
I think it's Daniel is what they talk about in the show. And then
Mhm.
Kubler is her married name because she's married.
Yeah.
But yeah, she goes through and just like very thoroughly breaks down everything that has to do with these academies and the WASP program and the money.
Yeah. So
It's insane.
this entire thing, WASP is WWASP.
Mm-hmm.
It is the Worldwide Association of Specialty Programs and Schools.
They added and schools on like, I think kind of recently because it was just programs, but then they started classifying it as schools because I think they were getting more traction with parents saying that it was a school because they were giving out diplomas.
Right. And what this is it's like a this WASP. I want to say they victimize not only the children, the teens, but they really, really sucker the
Oh,
parents.
absolutely. They capitalize off the parents.
They paint this picture to the parents for their children that are acting out or going through a phase or whatever. They paint this picture like, we're going to give you this brochure, and the pictures in the brochure are going to show like people being happy.
Oh yeah.
You know, so we're
They're having
swimming,
prom.
we're playing golf,
Yeah.
we're taking cooking classes,
Yep.
and every picture they're smiling at the
Yeah,
they're
they're
smiling, they're happy, and they paint this picture and here, send your kid here, we'll get
fix
them
them.
right, they'll be happy, woody woo, and it's a Ponzi scheme.
Absolutely it is.
It is a scam. So, so as soon as like Catherine starts walking through the school and she like opens up the door and she's describing step by step what happened.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell how she's describing
Yeah.
that she is extremely traumatized.
Yeah.
Extremely traumatized. Even like as soon as we're going to get into like how it initially happens first.
Yeah.
Like
Woo.
we're going to say kidnapping because
Yeah.
that's exactly what
It
it is.
is.
Like
It
they
is.
kidnap these kids, but as soon as the kids get to the school, they're literally taking them in the school like underhooks
Mm-hmm.
in the arm, walking them in the door,
Yep. Straight to the bathroom.
straight to the
Squat and
bathroom.
cough.
Don't
Gotta,
talk.
Yep.
Strip down,
Yeah.
squat, cough, and you're stripping in front of men.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
disgusting.
That is. I was blown the fuck away by this.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. It's sad. The whole thing is so fucked up, and it's not like just in this documentary. Like it's not just this school, and these things are still happening now. Like
Yeah,
to this day, there are still schools that are popping up. Oh,
yeah. And let's go to the kidnapping thing.
okay.
How they would get these kids would be sometimes it would be in the middle of the night, 3 o'clock in the
3
morning.
o'clock in the morning. Yeah.
Grown men would walk into these little girls' bedrooms and just
Get out of bed. Get up. They'd point tasers at him.
point tasers at
Get
them,
up. Do what I'm telling you to do.
and this is where I fault the parents a lot. If this didn't ring fucking bullshit alarms off rip, I don't know. I don't understand.
When she said like my dad was supposed to come get me, but instead I got escorted by these two grown men who put me in handcuffs and put me in the car. And then like there were so many other like survivors that were talking about how their parents hired these people to come pick them up in the middle of the night, and they were like, you're gonna get fixed. Like you're going there so that you can be better, and these people are gonna help you. And they were like, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, what are
Yeah.
we doing?
Yeah. This place was like the definition of a cult slash
Absolutely.
brainwashing facility.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start with the rules
Oof.
of this place.
This was crazy. The way that she broke down the rules, and immediately right off the bat, like you got handed this paper and you were expected to know everything. Like you weren't allowed to do anything.
You were also given a buddy. What did they call that? What did they call the buddy?
Oh, I don't remember.
It was like a house buddy or something like that, or a
Yes.
house. It was something like that you would get them for 3 days.
Yeah, it was the people who were levels above you
Yeah.
that could break it down for you when you first got there.
And the house buddy would pretty much explain to you like Catherine's was in there and she was talking in the documentary and she
I
was
should have
talking.
wrote down their names.
Yeah, she was talking. I can't remember.
Yes.
She was like the Hispanic looking chick, and she was
Yes.
talking. She was like, I remember Catherine's first day like, to a T.
Yeah.
And I remember like her trying to talk to me and me thinking she has no idea
Yeah,
what
like
she's in for.
Yeah, she's got no idea where she's at, what
Yep.
this is about.
The rules: no talking without permission. You know that brochure is awesome.
Of course, yeah.
No looking out windows
That one really got me because
So-
when they walk through the school, there are windows everywhere
everywhere.
in every
everywhere.
room.
Yeah.
Every room. Like she would talk about when they were doing school and there were computers. You'd have to look at your computer, do your school, and there'd be a window right above you.
Yeah. No making eye contact with other students, and especially not the boys. Boys and girls were kept separately. They have enclosed walkways so that the kids never went outside.
Which that part got me too.
It's a fucking prison.
Yeah.
So when they did we might talk about the riot in a little bit. There was a big famous riot.
Yeah.
So one of the kids, we should have wrote the names down. One of the
Yeah.
kids that initially started the riot, a few of them went to jail.
Mm-hmm.
And he said jail was like a 5-star hotel
Yeah. It was like
compared to
vacation.
this place. Yeah.
Crazy.
No touching, no makeup, no shaving. No shaving. You must pivot around every corner and maintain a military-like structure.
Which that's wild too.
Yep. You have to wear your hair in a braid. You're not allowed to look in the mirror. Wild. Bathroom breaks were monitored at all times.
There were stall doors.
Yeah.
You just had to go to the bathroom, do your business while I think she said there were like 3 or 4 adults like watching you.
You want to read the Rule 101 and then the stuff underneath it?
Okay, so the Rule 101, which is how the point system works essentially. You weren't intentionally allowed to pass gas. So she like really mocked this. She was like, you weren't allowed to fart. If you farted, you got in trouble.
Yeah.
That
So
part, oof.
you the goal was to get 15 points each day. Or did
Yes.
you get 15 points or you started with 15 points?
You start out with nothing,
You start with nothing. You had to get 15
I
points.
think.
Correct.
Yes. You weren't allowed to burp, especially you weren't allowed to burp loudly. No spitting, no winking, no smiling. The no winking and no smiling, she said you would get 2 days added to your sentence.
No smiling.
Yeah,
No smiling.
not allowed to smile. And winking, I mean, and I don't know how often you wink, but that one kind of caught me off guard because I was like, how often are these people
I just want you to
winking
think about that. You're not allowed to smile
at
in this
all?
place.
And that goes with like the no making eye contact thing.
Yeah. And for those of you who haven't seen the program and you're listening to this and you're wondering, like, why don't they just call their parents
They're
and
not
let
allowed.
them know? Well, you're not allowed to.
Yeah, you have no communication besides through your.
And once we'll talk about the level progression, once you're at level 2 or 3, you're allowed a 15-minute phone call
Yep.
per month.
Mm-hmm.
Per month with your parents.
And it's monitored.
And it's monitored. If you say anything bad
Though.
about Academy Ridge,
Mhm.
they will hang up the phone and you will lose your privileges.
Mm-hmm.
I think you go down a level, and something else happened too.
I think you go to worksheets,
Yeah,
which is where is that?
where you just write for
Yeah.
like 8 hours.
Yeah, you write sentences all day.
Yep.
The
8 hours.
sentence. Ooh,
Yeah.
Okay. The program runs on a points and levels system. Everyone starts out on level 1 with 0 points. You must move up in level by getting points. You earn points by following the rules all day long. If you break a rule, you get a correction, and a correction removes points from your total. Which that in itself is a lot. Like when she was saying it, I had to go back and listen to it again because I was like, huh?
She described it as a horror video game.
Yeah.
And then like Netflix did like this like video game
The
graphic.
animation?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It was a horror game.
Yeah, it really was. On level 1, you are nothing. If you got a correction, you likely didn't have enough points to cover it, so you get sent to worksheets to write meaningless essays or copy rules for hours. When you got to level 2, you were allowed to have a candy bar twice a week, but you're not allowed to smile.
Yeah. I don't want to overgloss the writing the meaningless essays or copy rules for hours, because when they say hours, they're talking 8 to 12 hours a day.
Yeah, it is all day long. You do not leave that
You're
room.
just writing. It don't matter if you have to use the restroom. It doesn't matter if you have to eat.
Yeah.
When they did the riot, they said they had a plan to go. They had like a pattern.
Yeah.
We're going to go here, 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 and here. He said the plan broke because 90% of the people who were in the riot went to the cafeteria
Started
because they were
eating.
fucking hungry.
Oh, that broke my
Like
heart.
you aren't. I mean, they starved these kids in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Level 3 was a big deal because it meant you were finally allowed to have a 15-minute phone call with your parents once a month. But staff would listen in, and if you said anything bad about the program, they would disconnect the call and you would lose your privileges. Which that's crazy. Going a whole month, and you have to earn the right for that phone call.
The parents were victims in this as well,
Yeah.
but they fucking fucked up so bad by not just let this be a lesson.
Yeah.
Stop sending your kids to fucking boot camp. Stop
Absolutely.
sending your kids to
these
correctional
schools.
facilities,
Ugh.
especially today.
Yeah.
Like-
what are we doing?
Come on. I mean, if your kid wants to watch Miss Rachel, let him watch Miss Rachel.
Yeah. Fuck. Hot little bunnies.
Right.
Levels 4 through 6 were the upper levels, and it was a completely different program. You could talk, you could shave, you could wear your hair down, but you can't leave the program until you got to a level 6, and that takes a very long time. The program is intentionally hard to follow, and it's meant to trap you and keep you there.
Yes, because it's a cash cow.
Yeah.
I think tuitions were anywhere between $3,000 and $5,000 a month.
Yes, she said it was $75 a day for each kid to be there, but only about $4 a day were spent on the kids.
Yeah.
So it was just a lot of capitalizing on that income for
the people that were running this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna scroll back up and name drop a few. The people that were running this were living fucking lavishly.
Holy shit.
Still to this day,
Yes.
living lavishly.
Yes.
I'm talking having ranches.
Yes, in valleys,
In
giant valleys. Just
because
theirs.
because there's one name at the very top of they they kind of like broke this down to a paper trail type thing, and one
Yeah.
name always popped up, and it was Robert Litchfield.
Yep.
Correct. He's the founder and owner
Yep.
of WASP. He printed off the troubled teen industry, conned parents out of thousands and thousands of dollars to help their troubled kid through this academy.
Yeah, the rest of those are just
Yeah.
different academies that he had opened.
And there's more than just Ivy Ridge.
Oh, yeah.
You know, at one point, Casa by the Sea was where did they say it was at? I think it was in fucking
Yes.
someplace in Mexico.
Yes.
Casa by the Sea was the same thing as Ivy Ridge.
Yeah.
Set up the same way. Federales came in and fucking shut them down.
Yep. And all of those kids
And
got
all of those kids got sent to Ivy
Yeah.
Ridge. Same
Packed.
place.
packed.
And at the time, Ivy Ridge, the kids at Ivy Ridge didn't know they had sister schools.
Yeah, she had no idea until they started coming in, and she was like, "Holy shit!" Like,
There's more of these.
Yeah, I thought we were the only one.
Yep. Casa by the Sea, Tranquility Bay, Majestic Ranch, Carolina Springs, Spring Creek Lodge, Cross Creek Manor. The list goes on.
Cross Creek Manor was a really big one. There are a
Yes.
lot of survivor stories from
Yeah.
Cross Creek.
Hundreds of students at each school.
Oh yeah,
$3,000 to $5,000 a month from each student. You can do the math.
yeah. I mean, just such a money bank.
Yep. Robert Litchfield. Okay, so Ken K is the president of WASP. He is the administrator of Brightway Adolescent Hospital before moving into a president role.
Mm-hmm.
He literally had no qualifications to take that job. Corruption went all the way up to the top of the ladder.
Yep.
I remember watching that in there. Dude had no
Yes,
qualifications at
Robert
all.
Litchfield just like picked him and put him in that spot.
Yep.
He's like, "You can do it."
Yep. J. Ralph Atkin, prominent Mormon businessman and founder of SkyWest Airlines, co-owned one of the WASP programs, Morava Academy in the Czech Republic.
Yes.
WASP's go-to lawyer.
Yep.
And you can read this one.
Oh, Mr. Narvin Litchfield.
He actually makes an appearance in this.
He does, and oh my gosh, I was cracking up.
So I was curious about this because he has no idea
No idea.
what this film crew is there for.
Yeah.
They're just filming. And
Yeah.
this dude is full of himself.
Oh my gosh.
Loves all of the attention.
Yes.
And they actually, this is like one of the head up guys.
Yeah.
And Catherine and the squad go in there and they just, this bar, they're doing karaoke.
Yeah, he posted on, I think it was Instagram.
Yeah.
He said, "I'm going to be here tonight. Come join me." And she was like, so we took him up on that invitation and they just showed up.
And they just happened to be there when he posted that and they just showed up.
Oh my gosh.
They had drinks.
Yep.
He did not know.
No idea.
And I kind of wish she would have fucking said something to him.
Yeah. She
She
said,
just-
like, it wasn't my place and it wasn't the right time to say anything to him. So we didn't. We just, like,
Got the footage.
yeah.
I'm just wondering if like he sees this and there's a lawsuit.
Oh, dude. Mr.
Ne-
Marvin Litchfield.
Netflix might have conned him like, hey, bro, you're going to be on like this documentary with these
Yeah.
girls. I mean,
Yeah.
just as a background character.
He's probably like, oh, fuck
Yeah.
yeah. And then it comes out and then it's not at all what he
You can
thought.
talk a little bit about him.
Narvin Litchfield is Robert Litchfield's brother. He was brought on to help Robert. I don't remember what exactly for. I don't remember why he brought Narvin on. I think it might have just been to have extra hands because he said when you're doing this much work, this much good work, you receive a lot of attention and you're under a lot of scrutiny. And I think that's why he brought Narvin on. But yeah, Narvin is the owner and director of multiple programs. He helped build the WASP program into the empire of the troubled teen programs. He was arrested in Costa Rica after his program that he opened called Dundee was raided. And then he opened up another program months later in Costa Rica called the Pillars of Hope. And she kind of just like elaborated on that and the fact that these places can be shut down and, you know, like they can be raided and things can be put out there and then they just turn around and pop another one up months later.
Yeah. Yeah. And Narvin's son was actually in this.
Yes.
And he
Yes, he
was, did he go to one of the academies?
Yes. His dad tried to send him there, but he was only there for I think he only said he was only there for a couple weeks.
Yeah. But he knew right away
Yeah. He was
how
like,
much bullshit it was.
yeah, he's like, something's going on here.
And I want to say at one point he was in charge of one,
Yes.
but like he's super like against what his
Yeah.
dad's doing.
Yeah. I don't even think he's in contact with his dad anymore. He said once he realized what was going on, he was like, I don't want to be a part of this anymore. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be anything to this.
We'll get a little bit back to the process of Ivy Ridge. Upper level students are meant to be enforcers of the rules. You have to prove that you've given in to the ideology of stepping up.
Hmm.
The kids who are successful by reaching the upper levels of the kit are kids who went through the most.
Yeah. Um, the girls in that program, the ones who got to the level 4 and up, talked about how like traumatizing it was to them to then turn around and be the punishers of the lower
Mm.
levels, and how fucked it was that they had gotten to this point where they were like, oh yes, like we're upper levels, we can do it, but then they then had to turn around and
Induce more trauma.
yeah, to other
Yeah.
kids.
Yep.
Oh.
Challenges. They would give you these tasks to do if you did not listen, which was an example is the box challenge for
Mhm.
2 weeks. She couldn't put the box down. It had to be held all day long. That's
Yep.
I don't think I remember that.
So she had talked about, it was one of the girls in the documentary, and she was talking about how she just like would not give in. Like they were doing everything to her to get her to like do her program, and she was like, I'm not doing it. Like this is wrong. And so they filled just like a medium-sized box full of books, and she had to carry that box around with her arms extended all day. She talked about how she had to run in gym class with it. And she was like, I had bruises covering my arms, and they wrote down in her file, like, if you see bruises on her arm, it's because she had to hold the box.
Jesus
Like,
Christ. Like sitting on a
crazy.
chair with your knees apart, shoulders square, staring ahead.
Yeah, so that was one of the boys. That was one of his challenges because he got in trouble for something, and you're only allowed to have your booty cheeks like 2 inches on the chair. You had to be sitting completely straight, square, staring at the wall. And if they found you slumped over at all, then they would do the physical restraints, which is literally just child abuse.
Yeah.
And
When we say physical restraints, we're talking about like picking kids up in midair by their throat.
like pulling them out of the room. They were
Yeah.
body slamming them, kicking them,
And there's
throwing
footage
them.
of this. This
Yes.
isn't just like this is footage.
Yeah, it's not like
Yeah.
this is what's going to happen if you don't listen. Like it really happened to
Yeah.
these kids.
Corrections are basically a write up that means you either get docked points or add days to your sentence.
Hmm.
Manipulation kept you in line with the program and the level system.
Yeah, so you wanted to do everything that you could to not get a correction because it meant that either you were going to get days added to your sentence or you were going to get docked points, which means leveling up became more difficult if you were losing points all the time.
Yep, I'll let you read this next part.
So the boys' side, because the boys and girls were kept separate,
Mm-hmm.
the boys' side had cameras, which is confusing because the girls' side didn't.
Why?
I know, like, why was it easier to keep an eye on the boys? I mean, I guess the boys' side is the side that started the riot. So I don't know if I don't know.
Do they think it was probably because they feel like if any side can be overthrown, it would be the
It's
boys'
gonna be the
side.
boys.
But that's still creepy
Yeah.
shit that the
Yeah.
girls' side didn't have.
So they had these things called isolation rooms on both the boys and the girls' side, but this is mostly talking about the boys' side. In those isolation rooms, they didn't have cameras. So all of the boys' side had cameras, but these little isolation rooms that the kids would be sent to. And in those isolation rooms, it basically meant that,
They beat the shit out of you.
yeah, you could have the crap beat out of you and there was nothing.
There's a reason why there's no cameras.
There was no one to stop you. I mean, like, he talked about, like, if they said that you were going to the isolation room, like, you knew shit was over. Like,
I remember seeing one clip in there that they took this boy and they fucking threw him up against like a baseboard,
yeah,
like AC.
a radiator.
Yeah,
thingy.
like a radiator, like a wall AC.
Yeah.
Threw him up
They
against that
bounced
shit.
his head off
Yeah.
of it. And, like, in those isolation rooms, they would physically restrain you, which is just child abuse. It was solitary confinement, so you weren't allowed to leave. You weren't allowed anything at all. And even, yeah, food deprivation. You weren't allowed more than like a cup of water a day. They would only feed you 2 cups of rice a day. Isolation rooms were rough.
Yeah.
Rough.
Solitary confinement.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, sexual abuse by staff members.
that was a big one. Ugh.
Yeah, we're talking about teenage girls.
Yeah.
Nothing was ever documented. Several students have come forward with their stories, though. forcing medications down throats of the kids who refuse to take them willingly.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
This was crazy. I remember one of the girls was talking about how um, what was her title? A dorm parent. One
Yeah.
of her dorm
Mm-hmm.
parents was sitting at this like big desk, which she called like the center. Like everybody, she's the one who ran everything. That dorm parent sat on her chest and was like choking her basically, and she said she was going in and out of consciousness, and they had forced that pill down her throat
Yes, I remember
as
that.
she was like actively passing out. And
I
she was
remember
like,
that.
I just remember thinking like, if I don't take this, they're gonna kill me. Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna pass out and I'm not gonna wake up.
At one point in the documentary, all the students sit at this. I think they're at a bar or something. And they call. Who did they call? They called somebody. It was the guy. Was no, it was one of the. Might have been one of the teachers or the officers, but they called him and pretty much was calling him out on his bullshit.
Oh yeah, when they went bowling.
Yeah,
Yes. I don't remember what the story was.
yeah. They were pretty much. They called this guy and they were like, "You fucking
Yeah.
abused us.
You did
You
that
did this.
shit."
You did that." Like, and this dude was a grade A asshole on
He
the
was
phone.
like-
He was like, "Well, what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
Like what do you expect me to
Like
do?"
I don't know what you want me to do at this point. Like that was a long time ago. And she was like, if you want to come on and talk about it, like own up to your stuff. And he was like, I'm not.
Nobody did.
I'm not doing
Nobody
that.
did. Nobody did. She was with someone in a diner. Catherine was. And
That was the dorm parent.
was it the dorm parent?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Florence DeDecker. They called her Miss Sis. She
Yep.
was the shift supervisor
yep.
for the girls. She was the one that sat on that. She was a child. She sat on that child's chest
Mm-hmm.
and forced that pill down her throat because she wouldn't take it.
Yep. One of the girls actually drove to a dorm parent's house and put the letter in her mailbox.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. No, it was her drug. Was it her drug test that she put in her mailbox?
Yes, her drug test came back negative, but they told her it was positive, and she had to, in these seminars that we're about to talk about, they told her that she had to confess to her sins, which was being a drug abuser. And she was like, I didn't even do drugs.
They told her you suck dick for cocaine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Word for word, they told this girl that, and she didn't do
never
drugs.
done it a day in her life, but
Yeah.
in order to work her program, she had to fess up to it. So yeah, they did print out her drug test, and I think it was her parents, or it was somebody close to her that she put it in their mailbox and was like, "I hope that this
Yeah.
shows you how much you fucked me up."
Yep. Seminars.
Oh God,
The
seminars.
backbone of the whole program.
Yeah,
If you want to get out, you have to work your program.
you have to.
Okay, and these seminars were we were talking about
Intense.
one before the show started. And so pretty much they take a towel,
Mhm.
right? And they wrap it in like a rope, and then they take duct tape and they wrap it around the entire towel
Mhm.
to make it almost like the consistency of a pool noodle,
Yeah.
but a little bit thicker.
Mhm.
And these rooms, these girls would have to get into these rooms. They would have to get on their knees and take these pool noodles and bash them against the floor
While screaming
while screaming at the top of their lungs for 8 hours a day.
hours.
Screaming.
They
And they
were
showed
expected.
videos of
Yeah.
how they had to do this. And if you didn't do this,
Yeah.
like I
That-
said,
oof.
if something else happened, and if you didn't do that, you would have to get sent to the
Your
breakpoint
breakpoint
room.
class.
And one of the breakpoints they explained was it was like discipline for not doing your seminar.
Yeah, if you didn't,
Yeah.
you opted out.
And in the documentary, they show one of these breakpoints, and it was bizarre as fuck.
Uncomfortable. It was so uncomfortable.
So the girls would have to sit in chairs, and they would have to hold their hands out, and it was almost like a séance. And it was what is it? Palms up,
Palms up,
palms down, palms
together,
in, palms out.
apart. Oh, palms up, palms down, palms
Yeah.
together, palms apart.
And
they
you
did
keep
that.
doing it, and you keep doing it. So in the documentary, they showed them doing this for like two minutes straight, and I'm
Oh
like,
my gosh.
I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And then after that, they just look at the camera and they said, "Yeah, we did that for 8 hours a
8
day,
hours. And
Yeah.
you couldn't stop.
and you could not stop."
There was no eating, no drinking, no bathroom breaks. You had to sit there in that chair all day.
And if you've made it this far into this episode and you don't understand what the fuck we're talking, this
Yeah.
is insane.
Yeah.
It's insane.
It said, or I wrote down, they want you to give up yourself and give up your individualism It's a part of the thought stopping
That
process.
was a big thing.
Yes.
Like, you pretty much gave up who you are as a person
Yeah.
at this place.
Because you just have to get through, because with each seminar, you had to work your way through to get to the next one. And that was the goal, was to keep moving through them, because that was you working your program.
You were brainwashing.
Yeah.
And actually, they said a few of the upper people that made these seminars, one of the guys that came up with the seminars was actually a like a leader of like they called it like life something,
Yes.
but he was pretty much brainwashing.
Absolutely.
Brainwashing.
Yeah.
Life Spring.
Yeah. Yeah.
There it is. Yep.
They are, or these seminars are typically modeled after self-help workshops, also known as LGAT, which is Large Group Awareness Training. These workshops became popular during the human potential movement in the 1960s.
Bizarre ass shit.
Yes.
Like, I'm talking like,
I didn't know about any of this either, but I
Like-
was like, what is this?
and the shit and the videos that they were showing of these people in the 60s, it's like Charles Manson, like groovy,
Yeah.
like
They're all
we're gonna lay
flipping
on the
and flopping.
floor, and this is what they're doing with these kids.
Yeah. She mentions EST and LifeSpring were popping up everywhere during this time. They utilize the high arousal techniques that consist of unconventional activities that are meant to increase self-awareness to bring about a desired change. If you put people through high, intense emotional experiences, you can make them believe that they are actually changing their lives. A cast member goes on to say, by the time the physical exertion was done, I felt like I beat this part out of me, and now I feel clean. Ugh. It is behavioral modification and literal brainwashing. They would use personal details to break you down too, which this part was really sad. Like, one of the girls that was in this documentary was sharing her experience of her dad passing away in a car accident, and she had lived through the car accident, and they would tell her, like, you should have died and not your dad.
That is
Like,
bullshit.
Yeah, like, you should have went and not him. And so they would use these personal experiences that they knew about you to break you down and make you believe that it should have been you in those bad experiences and not whoever else. In order to graduate, you had to complete the seminars. So these seminars happened once every 6 weeks, and the kids were required to participate in pseudo-psychological, emotionally abusive, and humiliating seminars. They are 2 to 4 day events that happen every 4 to 6 weeks at every single one of the WASP programs, and you have to get through one to get to the next one.
Yeah, there was no like, you have to do this one
Mm-hmm.
to get to this one.
Yeah. They use psychological experiences to manipulate the mind and manipulate the thought process. Every single seminar involves some type of physical exertion component. The towel wrapped in duct tape was a really big one that they talked about. Hitting the ground as hard as you could and screaming for hours. You became sleep deprived, food deprived, and you had no sense of what time of day it was because the windows were always closed, which that's another thing. Like, if you've got all these kids trapped in a dark room and you're telling them to do all of these like mentally exhausting things.
It's fucking trauma.
Yeah.
These kids are fucked up
Yeah.
over this. Like, you can even like like I said, you could see it on Catherine how
Yeah.
fucked up she is.
Yeah, just talking about it just made them all so uncomfortable. And a lot of them would like just tear up thinking about.
There was that one chick that got transferred from Casa, and they found one of her journal letters.
Yes.
And she's seen the journal letter, and she just like, you could see her lip quiver.
Yes, that part made me cry. That
Yeah.
was one of the parts that I was watching, and she was like, my parents were supposed to be helping me and they sent me here. And I was like,
Yeah, she was a recovering addict, and she
Oh,
got sent to this
yes,
place.
it's awful.
Yeah.
If for any reason you stopped doing what they told you to do, you chose out of doing it, which meant you were sent to the break point, which is what we already talked about. They would make the boys cross-dress and wear makeup while prancing around in a cult-like circle to embarrass and humiliate the kids so that they could
Wild.
break you down and build you up in the image of the program.
Wild,
That-
weird, fucking wild.
Weird.
Yeah.
Weird. I mean, these teenage boys, you're putting them in dresses and wigs and you're putting makeup on them and then making them prance around in circles. Makes no sense.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, so I'll come
Yeah.
down to the family rep type thing. The family rep is a liaison between the child and the parent. Okay, family reps would monitor all letters and phone calls.
Mm-hmm.
This is insane.
yeah, this part really got me.
If anything negative was said about the program, the students would get a correction, what we talked about earlier. Family reps had taking points which were meant to keep selling the program to the parents. call every single day, so the parents had to fully commit to the program and basically sign their kids away to the program before the kid would be able to be accepted in.
And this is where I struggle with, like, the parents were absolutely scammed 100%. But at the same time, like, they had their kids kidnapped, and they knew these family reps were feeding them all of these things, and they were like, yeah, okay, you can take my kid.
If I'm a parent, there's red flags raised
Yeah.
if I'm not allowed to talk to my kid at all.
Yeah, there's no communication.
Like, and my kid has to be rewarded to talk to me for 15 minutes a month. That's a red flag.
A month, not a
Like-
week, not a day.
Like, I'm a parent. I want to know what my kid's doing
Yeah.
every second.
Absolutely.
Like, I mean, I don't understand it.
Yeah.
Okay. This was insane too.
Yeah,
This kind of sad.
it is very sad.
The academic part of this was an online homeschool program. Ivy Ridge is not licensed, certified, or registered with the State Department of Education. They were defrauding people and passing themselves off as a diploma granting boarding school. The diploma they were issuing was not worth the paper it was written on. The kids were meant to teach themselves, and it was hard to get to the adults to help them with any programs they had, which was 5 minutes max with the teacher.
Mhm.
The diplomas that the kids were handed were basically fake, which was educational fraud.
It's just a huge educational fraud. And they didn't know that. Like, the kids didn't know that what they were being given was not state certified.
They
It
were so
wasn't-
happy to graduate.
Yeah.
You know, they had graduation
Oh, yeah.
ceremonies. You
Cap
know,
and gown, like,
cap and gown,
the whole
holding up
thing.
their diplomas. And one kid was interviewed saying, "Yeah, I had my diploma, and I can't get a job.
Yeah.
I had to go get my GED."
yeah, he was like, I didn't even know. Like, I left, I got out, like, I graduated my program and I got out and I went to go get a job, and they were like, this is nothing more than a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And he was like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Like, I worked so hard and went through so much to get this, and I don't even have like a high school diploma.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
This place was just, I don't understand. I don't understand it. I don't understand how it was open for so long.
And it's just like, it's right there. Like, all of it is just right there in this building that nobody knows what's happening inside of. Like, there's no outside communication.
I'm curious about because they just walk straight into this fucking building.
Yeah.
I'm curious about now that the Netflix documentaries come out. I'm wondering if that building is like
Closed off. and
closed off and stuff
they've gotten
because
all the
how
stuff
many
out of it.
people? Yeah, because
like-
of how many people were going there and
Just
shit.
like, I bet people got curious. Like,
Oh yeah.
I just want to see what it's about. Like, I want to walk through the halls, and I mean, it's freaky footage.
Yeah, if you guys haven't watched the program yet, go watch the program. But right now, we're going to read some experiences that are on the internet. And these experiences are from, waspsurvivor.com.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can go on, and if you're a WASP survivor, you can log your experiences or
Mhm.
read about the experiences at these.
Just so you know, like, you're not alone in it. And I
Yeah.
think that's what they hit really heavy on, was like, they all thought they were alone in this, and then as she started to get the ball rolling, she was like, it's not just me that experienced these traumatizing things, it's all of us.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'll start off with the first one. And these don't have names attached to them. These are just crazy experiences.
Yeah.
This one is I was there during the riot. I try not to think about this place and just erase it from my memory completely. I think I carry on better when I bury the memory. The riot is the best thing to ever happen to that place, and other than it getting shut down, of course, and thank God. The amount of evil that it takes to put together a plan like the one that they did is scary. Pure evil. This place caused me so many permanent issues and personality disorders. I didn't even think about the personality disorders.
Yeah.
Abandonment issues, never feeling really loved, outcasted, and disowned. Even today, I still don't feel a part of any group, family, or friends. I'm afraid to try and or get any treatment from any facility that might be able to help because I'm scared to death of the nightmare coming back to life for me.
Which, that is a big one too that I never really thought about.
They don't want to go anywhere.
Just like how traumatizing it's got to be to trust that somebody's going to take care of you.
Yeah. Yeah, this place kept me from growing up into a mature adult by not giving us a choice in anything. Loss of confidence, leadership skills, we were ashamed, and that has stuck with me to adulthood. As an adult, I've been using drugs to cope, which led me to jail numerous times. I've done more time than most people at my same age, and I would rather do the jail time over ever having to go through anything like my experience I had at the academy at Ivy Ridge. It ruined my life and broke the trust and security I had in my family. It's gotten better, but still not what it was before I got taken away. That's sad.
It's
That's
awful.
yeah.
It's
That's
so
awful.
sad to hear the survivors talk about just like everybody's own personal experience was so different, but they all went through the same things.
Yeah, and when they get together, like how they got together in that documentary, you can kind of tell they're all right here.
Yeah.
They're all like in sync.
Yeah.
Like you can read the next one.
It says, I never made it past level 3. I'm a pure, passionate, dazzling young woman. I still have all of my journals from there since we weren't allowed to talk. That place messed me up pretty bad. I've never been the same. I tried to erase the place from my memory. So much unpacked trauma from in there. It was one of the worst places alive. I was there in 2005.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yep. I was placed at Provo Canyon School by the state of California. I had run away from an abusive home and had a lot of behavior problems stemming from the abuse, so California decided to send me to Provo. I didn't know that that was a thing,
Yeah.
that the state could send you these places.
Yeah.
That's
And
horrible.
sometimes the state will fund that kid to go there if the parents didn't have the money or whatever the case may be. Sometimes the state will fund for the kid to be there, which
That's
again
fucking
just
horrible.
makes
How
no
could the state
sense.
send kids to a place that they have no idea what's going on?
They're just like, oh, it's a correctional facility. Yeah, go.
Yeah.
Don't go.
Some of my memories are vague, but I do remember being restrained. Plastic cuffs around my wrist attached to a cot. I remember the first time I was placed in a restraint, I had such horrible flashbacks from the abuse I had suffered that I screamed at the top of my lungs for a full 4 hours.
It's awful.
Yeah. 4 hours was the limit they allowed for such restraints. I was often placed in seclusion, a locked bare brick cell for days.
Seclusion rooms were a big or a big thing too that I didn't hit on in these notes, but
What were they?
the seclusion rooms where they would make you just sit in this very, very small brick room and they would have like
Yeah.
inspirational things written on the wall to like help you pull yourself out of it. But in those seclusion rooms, you got no interaction.
Yep. For mild infractions, I'd be forced to stand for 25 minutes at a time. Well, with a 5-minute break to sit or use the bathroom. I regularly saw a psychiatrist who prescribed me high doses of medication. Thorazine was one. For those who don't know, Thorazine is a strong sedative medication. I was given a dose in the morning before school and before bed. It made me so sleepy I got into trouble for falling asleep in class.
It's just like you're set up to fail.
You're literally set up to fail. At one point, I decided I didn't want it. My therapist had the nurse grind it into powder, and I was forced to eat it without water. Wow.
Awful.
Structure was a big deal. I'd stand in line with other students for 20 to 30 minutes until our line was perfect before being allowed to eat or go to the gym. At the time, I didn't realize this was abuse. Being beaten, raped, and starved was the abuse I knew. But I still had the night terrors about the school, as well as the nightmares from the abuse at home. I never sleep straight through the night. Then there are the panic attacks and an ability to go into a crowded store.
Yeah. It's just got to fuck up like everything in your daily life.
Yeah.
Even to this day.
This next one's crazy.
Do you want me to read it?
Yeah.
I faked appendicitis so that I would be transported to the hospital and from there make my escape. The doctor decided to perform my appendectomy on me anyway, and when I woke up from the surgery, my family was there. I told them all of the brutality that was happening and showed them the truth. They took me home. I'm scarred by this place, both mentally and physically. You can see the scars on my stomach. I was later contacted by a friend who lived in my dorm. He told me how all the kids started faking illnesses so that they could just go to the hospital.
This kid faked appendicitis and then had an appendectomy to get out of this place.
I just don't,
That's you don't know what to say.
I just don't even have words. Like
Yeah.
that's so sad to know that like these kids were just thinking of literally any way to get out of there.
Yeah. We'll read one more. I'll read this last one right here. I was a student at Darrington Academy, a WASP school in Blue Ridge, Georgia. I was enrolled in 2006 and left in 2007. In my time there, I witnessed multiple accounts of child abuse. Physical abuse from a grown adult or chaperones whose credentials were unknown.
I mean, nobody had credentials to be
They
there.
were fucking hiring janitors
Yeah.
and putting suits on them.
Yeah.
Literally. I think that dude that was higher up that didn't have any credentials was a janitor.
Yeah.
I think he was. Physical abuse, okay. Mental abuse and manipulation, We were only allowed to contact our families once a week via a typed letter that was sent to our family representative, reviewed, and if it seemed necessary, edited and revised before being sent to our parents. Obviously, you can't say nothing bad.
Nothing.
Yeah, everything is revised. So their parents are thinking, they're having a good time.
They're doing just fine.
Yep. You could not talk about anything negative going on at the school of your letter or your letter would not get sent out and you were subject to intense consequences. There were employees accused of sexual abuse. Did they talk about the sexual abuse in the documentary?
She touched on it, but very quickly.
Yeah.
I don't think it was anything that they could elaborate on because there was no documents.
Yeah, because that's a whole nother fucking...
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a whole nother thing. I personally witnessed a grown man tackle and hit a child, calling him a racial slur. Wow. The entire facility was ran by a religious group, a sect of Mormonism. The souls pushed their beliefs on kids, and if the kids showed interest, they were given treatment and inviting to... What? They were given special treatment and invited to Mr. Darrington's home.
That's kind of what she talked about was these adults would single out whatever kid they thought was worth it, and they would make them feel really special and really seen. And she was saying, like, from her own personal experience, that it made her feel really good to be seen because they're not allowed to make eye contact, they're not allowed to smile, they're not allowed to talk. So for this adult to see you as somebody who deserved that sort of praise was like a big deal. And then these adults would then go on to assault these kids after making them feel so special, just leaving the kids more empty. Like, I really thought that I was special, I was a big deal, like they saw me and then they did that to me.
Jeez.
It's just sick.
Yeah,
it's sick.
It's not a tough watch, but it's a watch that will...
It opens your eyes.
Open your eyes, piss you off,
Oh,
and
yeah.
make you feel some type of way. Like,
Yeah.
what in the world?
It made me very emotional.
And these facilities are still up and running.
Still open.
Ivy Ridge is shut down, but there's
Yeah.
still other ones running. So get them the fuck shut down.
Yeah, do your research, look at what's in your area, and bring attention to it.
I think that documentary is going to do it good in getting some of them shut down.
Absolutely. And good for her. I mean, good for Catherine when she was taken home, she got out. She said that she ended up going to film school, and then she went on to make this huge documentary. Like,
it's filmed great.
It's
like
amazing.
that. It's great. Like the soundtrack. That's another thing. They said they can't. There's songs that they can't listen to.
Oh yeah.
That remind Cyndi Lauper was one
Yep,
of them.
Girls Just Wanna Have
Fun. Yeah. They said there's songs that they can't listen to because it'll remind them of the seminar rooms. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's lifelong trauma for these kids.
Yep. That's all we got for today. Next week, I'm not sure what we're doing.
We'll figure it out.
Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube.
Yes.
See ya.